Bernie Sanders had no problem going on Joe Rogan years ago when Joe Rogan endorsed him. I've been on Rogan's show 3 times. I've probably heard over 100 hours of it in the past decade. A decade ago, Joe Rogan was a Bernie Sanders supporter who would get emotional talking about how important it is to legalize marijuana, who would get emotional talking about how important it is to get Christianity out of politics, in particular on the abortion issue, who had a host of left-wing opinions, including about healthcare. And liberals drove him away by calling him a racist, unearthing jokes he made, calling him a misogynist, really with no evidence.
When you make racist
calling him
jokes
a transphobe,
about people of color,
calling him, a
people
lot of
calling you
comedians
racist is likely
make
going to
jokes
happen.
all the time. Calling him transphobic because he didn't like
He
seeing
also didn't
Fallon
love the
Fox
vaccine thing, right?
beating up.
To our point earlier.
That also used to be a left-wing opinion, to be against vaccines like 20 years ago. Again, so he actually hasn't shapeshifted very much, to your point. The Democratic Party has shapeshifted and driven him away and alienated his followers.
I think what he ended up seeing was an American political sphere that shifted, and he found ways. He's a lot smarter than people give him credit for. He found ways to walk into where those people were. Yes, he was a proud, ultra leftist, and then he became a proud person on the right, largely because he saw shifting towards the right, and that's where his money and his audience could come from. He shifted because more of his listeners shifted, and that's where he drove it to. That's nothing more than consumerism at work.
Which of his beliefs changed in the past 10 years? It's really hard to point out which of his beliefs.
But can I zoom out from him? Because I think there is this, and I see you nodding as well, this kind of bigger question.
So the left is in search of their own Joe Rogan, right? And many people make this point that Joe Rogan used to be part of the left. As you saw from the intro, Coleman Hughes mentions how the left, Democrats, have shifted further left. And this is the idea that one thing that I can't stand about a lot of liberal Democrat types is that they're so out of touch that they pretend that their position is somehow the center. Progressives are sitting here acting like, oh yeah, we're so popular, our ideas are so popular. But look at the results. Every time these so-called progressive run, the outcomes show that, Dale, your policies are bad. And I want to go through this article. Dems are mad that they got killed in alternative media as they seek to replicate TPUSA, Daily Wire, which was created in response of the leftist stronghold on culture. Look at Hollywood. Look at media. Look at the liberal media apparatus. Look at the cable channels. Majority of these cable channels are left-wing. They outnumber mainstream right-wing channels, right? The reason why there's such a strong alternative media echo chamber or ecosystem is the fact that conservative voices are not allowed to be comfortably represented in cable news, right? You got the token Republican. I just mentioned Scott Jennings. He's always damn near always by himself. You got people like The View who only accept certain voices on the right. The right has not been able to express itself fully on these news outlets. Look at Hollywood. What Hollywood actor is very openly pro-Trump? All the openly pro-Trump actors are either retired or has been blacklisted from Hollywood. Why is that? Liberal bias. So when you have this, show me the incentive, I'll show you the outcome. When you have all this incentive structure that insulates leftists from people who differ from them ideologically, you get alternative media. Look at college. How long it's been a trope for every conservative that they never feel comfortable openly expressing their political views at work or in college. Why? Because many of these corporate organizations are overwhelmingly dominated by left-wing activists or left-wing people with liberal ideology, from the CEO all the way down to the common worker. So there was a supply and demand. There was a demand there. There's a demand for people to hear conservative voices. And I kind of want to go through this article because it seems like the left wants to organically create a Joe Rogan, even though they had him in the first place. But before I go into that, I want to show you a clip from Fareed from CNN. He had a good take on what exactly is the problem with the Democratic voter, not the Democratic voter, with the Democratic Party, and how them trying to manufacture their own versions of TPUSA, Daily Wire, or to reinvent or find another Joe Rogan. It's not going to really work just because of the brand of the Democratic Party. Let's take a look.
Democrats now say that they need their own Elon Musk and Joe Rogan, except that they had them in Elon Musk and Joe Rogan. Rogan was a Bernie bro. In 2022, Musk said he voted overwhelmingly for Democrats historically. and he only ended up endorsing Trump after his attempted assassination. This is not an endorsement of either Rogan or Musk, who are strange characters and have gone on their own complicated political journeys. But it is a critique of policies that have needlessly alienated many young aspirational voters who identify with the idea of risk-taking, disruption, and new technologies. Politics is a game of addition, and rather than growing their base, the Democrats are subtracting from it while Donald Trump is expanding his fans. If Trump is able to maintain or expand support among young Hispanic and Asian men, and perhaps even bring young black men into the fold, he will have created for Republicans what has so far eluded them, a working MAGA majority coalition. The Democratic Party has become a party of urban, educated, middle and upper middle class voters, allied with minorities and young people. Virtually the only major group with which Kamala Harris gained vote share in the last election was white college-educated voters. And yet the party remains deeply uncomfortable with its new base, still pining for its old working-class roots. And so it turns on business, technologists, risk-seeking young men, who after a while, having begun to notice that the party doesn't like them, are now returning the favor.
So as you can see, I don't think you like what's the name? Chank's nephew, many of them trying to tout him as, okay, you're going to be the next Rogan for us. You're going to be our Rogan, right? Hassan Piker. But the problem with Hassan Piker is that he doesn't have the ability to talk to people outside of his little echo chamber, right? Every time I seen him in debates, when he used to do debates and conversation, it never really worked out well for him, from optics to actually the substance of the discussion. It never really works out for him when he tries to debate or discuss with people who are outside his little echo chamber. And this is why I think Hassan Piker never do these interviews, because at the end of the day, Joe Rogan has all kinds of guests on. And many Democrats and many leftists are starting to, progressives specifically, are starting to realize that them pretending that somehow, oh, we give people legitimacy when they are associated with us, therefore is a good tactic to stonewall right-wing thinkers from coming on their podcasts, coming on their platforms, when in reality, it just further insulates them into an echo chamber. And I think this problem will never really go away until they become more moderate in their approach. Democrats are unhappy about their electoral loss, and they're still trying to figure out how it happened. They have blamed voters, pollsters, Joe Biden, each other, and now they have decided that their lack of alternative media in the parallel economy model of the right is to blame. We got killed in our alternative media, said Strauss Perlmutter in a new article coming out from the New York Times. Perlmutter has been contemplating some kind of alternative Dem influencer group. Republicans have been investing in that space for years. Not really. And on the left, we have treated creators who are not legacy media as gig workers. Perlmutter is one of the most one of many left-wing progressive influencers who complain to the Times that Democrats haven't done enough to fund their efforts. Many right-wing content creators are not funded by the Republican Party at all. Look at how much Republicans spent on influencers. They didn't spend anything, because people like me, we do this as part-time. Oh, and the article even mentioned this. Like, this is a passion project for me, right? This is me explaining. This is to me. I know that I can't go on the street and I can't protest because I work a 9 to 5. I can't afford to do that. So what is more, how can I express my political views, my political advocacy without compromising my job? Oh, okay, I could do this online on the side. This is a passion project for me. And this is something that the left don't seem to understand. They think, okay, like what's common against black conservatives is that black Democrats will claim that black conservatives are being paid to spew these talking points, right? They call these talking points. Oh, you memorizing talking points? Who's paying you, right? There's this false idea. And in my thoughts, I'm like, okay, so Roland Martin gets paid a certain amount of money to interview Kamala Harris, but you never throw these criticisms at Roland Martin. Roland Martin gets paid to spew his political opinion, his political advocacy, but when a black conservative does it, for some reason, that's a bad thing. Make it make sense. And when you see the evidence showed that, Trump didn't send any money at influencers. He didn't throw much or if any money at influencers. But look at the Democrats. Their Democratic influencers are more funded than Republican right-wing influencers, because A lot of the movement in the right wing alternative media space, it's organic. It's a response to me looking on TikTok and hearing nothing but these uninformed people speaking on these political issues, right? Casting all these narratives when I look for evidence or substance, I couldn't find it. So I said, okay, I think I could do a better job, and this what sprung me to do my channel. And this is something you can't really replicate, Democrat. And I remember I made fun of this. Like I said, oh, Kamala Harris's support is astroturf, artificial, because of the fact that Democrats tried this strategy already and they're pretending that they didn't do enough of it. This is the problem with Democrats. They always think that they haven't thrown enough money at a problem. Democrats aren't doing enough funding in their efforts, while others claim that their side needs to launch an organization to rival Charlie Kirk's or create a media outlet like the Daily Wire, which publicizes news, runs podcasts, makes films, and even launches children's programming. But they're missing one key thing. The right-wing media echo chamber system comes into being as a reaction against left-wing controlled mainstream media outlets. Ding, ding, ding. This is the truth. This is the truth. As long as you have Hollywood, there will be never no, they can, I don't want to say they never can, but it's going to be very hard for them to replicate what Daily Wire or TPS, Turning Point USA has done. The strongholds Democrats have on Hollywood and their overwhelmingly progressive infiltration of leading academic institutions. And if you don't believe it, all you have to look at the stats. For every one conservative professor, there's 12 liberal professors. So, like I said, I always joke around on this channel that college is an ideological church of the left. If there's been openings for a kind of content conservatives crave in any of these areas, there would have been fair news coverage. If there's been a balance in education, there would have been no room for people with opposing views. It is likely that the Daily Wires and the Turning Points USAs of the world would have not grown so greatly as they have because conservative consumers would have had options. The lack of options gave conservative content creators one more thing: passion. And I think many people can see the passion. It's obvious. Like, what motivates someone like me who's working a 9-to-5 job to do this on the side? Like, I like, imagine this. Like, I'm passionate about this because this is like, politics is a hobby for me, and I found this as an excuse to talk about myself a little bit. But I wake up 5 a.m. before I got 2 hours before I had to get out for work, and I do these videos. That's passion. It takes passion to do this. Look, I don't make much money from this channel. I'm being serious. And I said, like, if I get 40 people to see this video, to me, it's a success, right? 40 people are willing to hear what I have to say, and those 40 people, those are my ride, and I'm accountable to them because I believe, I want to express my views here. I believe I have something to say. I believe I have something to give to this movement, and I'm doing that with the work I'm putting in. No one needs to pay me to do this, and this is the difference between Donald Trump's campaign and Hillary Clinton. Kamala Harris's campaign. Kamala Harris had to pay people to advocate for her. Donald Trump doesn't. So which is more organic? And this is a talking point that this is a line of attack that I spew all the time on my channel. And Democrats seem to have a hard time reconciling that fact. Turning Point USA and the Daily Wire outlets like the Post, Human Events, right-wing meme makers, YouTubers, TikTokers, creators launched their projects because they were driven to do so. Money came after. And typical leftists, because they're so based on security instead of freedom, that they want the money first before they get the passion about it, right? The New York Times spoke to leftist influencers who are frustrated that they weren't getting paid more by Democrats. They admitted they're getting paid by Democrats. Right-wing influencers, right-wing YouTube channels and all that stuff, we get paid by ads, right? We don't get paid little to at all by the Republicans, but here they are crying. Okay, and then they want to pretend that we getting paid like that. Like, this is some of the faultiest narratives I ever heard from left progressive influencers. The Zacharist, who said that the Zacharist, up until the end, everything was pretty much free work. So what? The kind of work being done here to elect a president, arguably due to a belief in the fundamental necessity of that candidate winning, should be work that should be done with whether a person is paid to do it or not. The Zacharist noted he has been paid nothing since Kamala's loss. Of course, the Times indicated that not financially backing leftist creators between elections could spell trouble for the next election cycle. To me, it don't matter how much money you invest in progressive, because the progressives are not the majority; they're the minority in this election. So it doesn't matter if they speak, and the fact that they're not willing to talk or debate with more center people, more right-wing people, it only limits their influence. And that's the reality of left-wing media online anyway. Democrats believe that Republican careers were all getting paid oodles of cash to do what they are doing. But as in 2016, when meme makers were launching Trump-centric content to boost his chances to deliver his message, many people did this kind of work because they're passionate about it, because they wanted that guy to win and found fundings along the way, such as ads, sponsorships, or even ex-creator payouts. Others do this while they're working straight jobs on the side. Hey, this is me. This is me. I'm doing this on the side because this is a passion project for me. Democrats want to engage in building up a Joe Rogan of their own, the Times right, without acknowledging that Joe Rogan was their own. He was a Bernie bro. Elon Musk was a Democrat too. So was the editor-in-chief of the Post Millennial, which is the website I'm reading this article from. Those affiliations changed because of the left, because of the policy positions, because of their insistence on censorship, media, and entertainment control. This is the reality here. They want to control everything. They're doing these purity tests. Barack Obama warned about these purity tests. It's like a circling firing squad. The left didn't listen. And the vitriolic cancel culture that drives out many people who doesn't fully align with whatever the fashionable progressive messaging is at the given time. And I think this is one of the biggest reasons why they can't really recreate Joe Rogan. You can't creating your own Joe Rogan is like creating your own language and try to get adoption of that new language. You know how many times academics has tried to create a new language that they said is better than English or all these other languages and it never gains traction? This will be the same case of them trying to artificially create a Joe Rogan. But first, they need buy-in and cash from the Democratic Party, donors, and institutions to compete in the new attention economy, where people's time is the currency. But of course, they have this. They have all the American institutions, from public schools to public sector unions to Hollywood studios to news media to universities to museum boards to prominent nonprofits and charities. The Democrats have all the avenues of media infrastructure that they could want, but they're realizing it wasn't enough to win. And this is what I think is frustrating the Democrats. They think that the influencer came first and all of a sudden everyone just followed. No, 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 no. The influencer usually speaks to something that already existed in the sentiment of the populace, of the population. And this is what leftists don't seem to think. Progressives always think change comes from the top down. No, it doesn't. Change always, at least sustainably, comes from the bottom up. Essentially, that's how Trump got into office. Trump came, he spoke, and the bottom resonated with what he had to say, and they propped him up. Change always comes from the bottom up. When top down try to implement a change, like them trying to create a new language and try to get adoption, it never goes. But when something organically happens in the bottom, it naturally makes its way to the top. This is why many people favor meritocracy. Let me know your thoughts about it in the comment section. Do you believe that the left can recreate Joe Rogan? I'd like to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. I appreciate you guys watching to the end of the video. And I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.